nation building? Nation building is the act of a powerful country invading and occupying another country to facilitate the transformation of their government to mirror the powerful country's form of government. To what extent is it fair for America to impose its form of government on other nations?
Well, I believe that it is very fair in the sense that it is benefiting nationwide, it is benefiting every nation that it interacts with, including America. It boosts economies because we are going in there and helping their nation to recover after a war. So we're therefore helping their economy grow, which is helping our economy grow because we're developing alliances and trade relations. And it makes us, it makes us look better to other nations, which can form more alliances, more trade, and eventually just make all nations work together for the economy and trading and just boost the economy overall. So it's very fair just because it's making nations work together and making the whole world a better place by helping each other.
Alright, so to clarify, you believe that nation building is beneficial economically and for relations?
Yes.
Alright, well, I disagree. So, I believe that nation building is actually more of a moral dilemma than it is legality, because nation building goes against the fundamental beliefs that America was founded on. It goes against our anti-colonialism, which is the belief that there's no colonization without the country's consent. And then it goes against more of our fundamental documents that we've constructed in the past, like the Atlantic Charter. No territorial gains, land changes must have the consent of the people, and self-determination for them to choose their right to their own government. Furthermore, I believe it is culturally deteriorating for the countries that America occupies, as aboriginal nations are often erased or marginalized, and there's a big deconstruction of culture. And an American philosopher also once said, George Meade stated, "One has to be a member of a community to be a self." America is not members of these communities. So even if they went in there and they attempted to reconstruct, the country would never be the same and they could never reconstruct their culture. Furthermore, I believe that nation building is damaging due to neighboring influence. Say if we went and assisted a country like Somalia, which actually did happen in 1994, I believe, with the resolution 837, which stated that the U.S. and the UN are able to use all means necessary to try and establish democracy in Somalia. The UN actually had to withdraw their forces due to the contesting that occurred due to the surrounding neighboring countries to Somalia, and then the violence that took place to the Aboriginal people because of America's occupation. Furthermore, in countries like Afghanistan, there were 31,000 civilians killed overall due to America's occupation and surrounding influence being deterred by the democracy that was trying to be reinstated. And I believe that the use of strong military influence by the U.S. is sort of contradictory to their democratization, as the main point of introducing democratic processes is not to use your military influence or scare a country into submission.
So I understand what you're saying about the traditional isolationism that our country once went off of that benefited us earlier on, and about how America uses a lot of military force in nation building, which overall doesn't benefit the nations involved because of casualties and damage and stuff. At the same time though, it is overall benefiting all the countries, because even though we are causing some damage, we are working towards benefiting the country with more damage on it to help that. So even though sometimes we will have to fight back against isolationism, so if there are countries who don't want us there and they will sometimes fight against us, most of the time the governments there will begin to realize how much we are helping just by we put a lot of money and time into trying to benefit these nations just because of war. Like sometimes it's even wars that aren't our fault. We merely go in and we're like, do you need help economically and reconstruction wise? And that's exactly what we attempt to do. Also, I actually have a quote from George W. Bush. I have two quotes. One of them is from October 11th in 2000, before George W. Bush became president, when he said, "I don't think our troops ought to be used for what's called nation building. I think our troops ought to be used to fight and win a war. However, after 9/11 took place, He then stated this on February 26, 2003. We met here during a crucial period in the history of our nation and of the civilized world. Part of the history was written by others, the rest will be written by us. Rebuilding Iraq will require a sustained commitment for many nations, including our own. We will remain in Iraq as long as necessary and not a day more. This shows the drastic point of view of our president by the actions of 9/11, realizing how important nation building is to benefiting the world overall.
Nation building can be very benefiting, I think. Thank you for your viewpoints. But I think that that nation building is imposing, like the question states, the U.S.'s own diplomatic views on other countries. So that's why the countries are, in the end, therefore not as much benefiting in the end. They are benefiting from the U.S., but the government's not benefiting.
That's good. And I think that was less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was definitely less than 10 minutes.